the back squat. Most athletes are going to feel more comfortable back squatting before front squatting. The reason that is the bar feels a little bit more stable in this position, and it kind of cuts out the need to have that upper or that thoracic part of the back engaging that musculature. The back squat's also important because it helps to engage that rear chain or that posterior chain. Because the bar rests over the hips and the hamstrings and the glutes become a little bit more engaged over the front squat. So a proper back squat position, as you already know, always starts in the feet. We've always talked about ground up analysis and athletic ready position. For the back squat, in order to keep the hips open and stable, we always advise athletes to toe out slightly. So this enables them to achieve depth if they are learning how to move properly. The hands are placed just outside of the shoulders. The chest stays up, midline engaged. And in order to have a nice, stable, strong feeling, it's a good idea to cue the athlete to almost grab the floor with their feet while they put slight pressure on their knees to push out during the descent into the movement, and especially as they drive out of that whole position, to put a little bit of pressure by pushing their knees out. Remember, if you cue knees out, always make sure you cue that the feet stay strong in the ground. So here's the other key with the back squat. This is called a high bar back squat. A low bar back squat, the bar is slid down or is a little bit lower on the back. This is an advanced back squat. You won't see a lot of this in the beginning with World Gym Athletics. This requires actually a lot of shoulder mobility. So we like to call this a high bar back squat. It's a great fundamental exercise to get people used to squatting. So let's watch a good quality back squat for 3 repetitions. You'll notice both these athletes have very good mobility in their ankles and their knees and their hips. Their ability to achieve depth is what we're looking for. On a proper back squat, feet are just outside of hip, slightly toed out. The chest line remains the same. He's driving vertically with his chest. He's achieving proper depth. You can notice that the feet don't move. It's a very stable position. As you get parallel or below parallel, you start to engage those important muscles. It's the muscles that you can't see when you're looking in the mirror. It's your glute, your hamstrings, and your hips. That's the goal of a back squat. For those of you that know what it feels like to back squat heavy, you'll feel your inner thighs, you'll feel your hamstrings. It's much different than what most people think. A back squat is a valuable squatting exercise. The front squat. Now the front squat's a little tricky because it's more than just a lower body exercise. In fact, a lot of athletes that are new to the front squat will actually complain to you that they're feeling their shoulders or their wrists or their upper back or the mid part of their back. That's not a bad thing, that can be a good thing. That's part of the adaptation process of learning how to properly squat, which is why we often introduce the front squat after the back squat. So you'll notice in the front squat starting position, what does it look like? It's that athletic ready position that we always refer to. What you'll notice here is that their elbows are up. They're maintaining a very nice, stable, high shelf or front rack position. What you'll also notice, they have good shoulder mobility. Part of the goal of our program is to increase shoulder mobility, and the front squat can help to support that. In this position, you'll notice the athletes are holding the barbell in their fingertips. They're in their fingertips because they have the shoulder mobility, hold the barbell in that position. If they did not have the ability to maintain this high position, notice the elbows are level with the chest or even a little bit higher. That's important. If they didn't have the shoulder mobility, they would grab the barbell and they would keep the barbell almost in the same position, the elbows would drop. That's okay, we'll work on the shoulder mobility as they get more adapted to the movement. So going back into the fingertip position, the squat movement, or the way that it looks in relationship to the back squat, is the same. The feet are still set strong in the ground, feet are just outside the hips, you're still thinking about keeping your feet set strong in the ground, driving your knees out, keeping your hips nice and engaged, midline engaged, chest up, gaze forward. Let's watch them front squat. I really want you to watch the position of the chest. Key with the front squat is to keep that bar high on the chest. And again, the closer that barbell is to your midline or general center of mass of the body, the more efficient the movement will be. Chest is up, elbows continue to drive up out of the hole position. It's a good idea when you're starting the front squat, starting with PVC pipe, that's fine, and then gradually working up to the barbell. Remember, the front squat is more than just a lower body exercise. It really trains the athlete to engage and get used to what it feels like to get every part of their body moving at the same time. The thruster. This is also called a squat to a press. This is a complex movement or a compound movement. So basically we're starting in a front squat ready position. Again, very athletically set, feet are set strong in the ground. I want you to think about this as two movements into one. We're talking front squat into a press. So all the mechanics stay the same. So remember, with a thruster or a squat to a press, chest is up, we're maintaining that nice high front rack position. The elbows remain at its nice high integrity throughout the movement until the press happens. We go back to that vertical drive out of the forearm. The thruster is a front squat into a press. Remember, it is one movement, not two movements. It's one fluid, athletic movement that is compound in nature. What you'll notice with a thruster, because it is a compound movement, the athlete's heart rate is going to drive up a little faster than other movements. So again, when we're teaching this movement, less repetitions, less load, because it is one of those higher, more advanced movements. The thruster is a very simple movement. Once the athlete understands how to front squat and press, you can introduce this movement. The overhead squat. This is the last of our squat progressions, and it's definitely the most advanced and the most complex. The overhead squat is a full body exercise. It's important for athletes to start light and then build heavy. You'll also notice in a lot of our programming, we don't do overhead squats at high repetition. We keep repetitions low so the athlete feels comfortable and gains confidence in the movement. The setup is almost the same as the rest of the squats. Most athletes, because they struggle with the bar overhead, we will allow athletes to take their feet a little bit wider. Now, a key on the overhead squat when you're coaching it is to encourage athletes to move a little slower than they think. That will help them with stability. What you'll notice with the athletes is the grip on the bar changes. This is what's called a snatch grip. The snatch grip allows for the glenohumeral joint or the shoulder joint to open up and get more stable. When that bar goes overhead on an overhead squat, we'll encourage the athlete to continue to press the bar overhead. What that does is actually protect the shoulder joint from injury. So again, when the bar gets overhead, throughout the range of the motion of the squat, we're going to encourage our athletes to continue to press up out of the squat. So our athletes are going to go into the overhead squat, chest stays up, they'll again, feet are set strong in the ground, knees out, chest up, midline engage. Watch how they squat, they're going to go slow, proper depth. Here we go, a proper overhead squat. As you come up out of the hole, continue to press. Encourage the athlete to descend in a controlled fashion, driving up out of the hole position, keeping the chest up, and remember to always encourage the cue of pressing the bar up as you come up. Feet set strong, knees out, vertical drive. The proper way to lower the barbell after an overhead squat is to cushion it down behind your head instead of in front of your head. That's the overhead squat. Coaches, those are our squat progressions.